guys, it's Cecile. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you guys who don't know me, I'm a freshman at Brown University, double majoring in biology and history as a pre-med. And basically I made this channel to share with you guys the advice that I wish I'd known when I was in high school, dealing with college applications and scholarships and all the stress of senior year and high school in general. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to subscribe to my channel down below, comment on this video, like on this video, and hit that bell to get notified every time I post. Now, for those of you guys who watch me regularly, you might notice something a little different about me in this video. My eyes are actually blue right now, and that's because of these super cool contacts that TTDeye sent me. So yeah, thank you to TTDeye for sponsoring this video and basically sending me all these products. And just as a little thank you, I'm gonna include this little ad before we actually move into the content of this video, just so I can show you guys everything that I got in our package today. Alrighty, so first off, the packaging was absolutely super cute. So first we have this awesome box, and if you open it up, obviously you have the contacts inside. But they also included these little glitter boxes, contact cases, because you'll definitely need those, since these contacts are actually good for a year. And then they gave me like these tattoos, sticker sets, definitely a lot of cool stuff in here, and even like a handheld mirror to use while you're putting in the contact. So right now I'm wearing the blue contacts, which are super duper comfortable, and the prescription lenses, because some of us are not blessed with perfect vision, and so I can see out of those. And I think they look really good. Like, I've always dreamt of having blue eyes, so this is like a dream come true. And then also I bought these green lenses, which I'm gonna wear later on. And I think that green eyes would probably like look better with my dark hair and everything, so I'll be super excited to try those out. I also got these like hazel looking ones. You can see they're like a mix of blue and green. And then also, this one's kind of weird, but I got yellow lenses, which I think is gonna be really outside my comfort zone, will probably make me look like a cat, but I think it's gonna be super cool since these are like really good quality lenses. Like, I'm super excited to try them out and see how it looks. So yeah, if you guys are interested in buying any of these contacts or any of these similar items, you can go to their website in the description down below and use my code Cecile for 10% off your purchase. But anyways, now on to the content of today's video. So as you guys know, based on the title of this video, the topic of this video is basically what you should do whether you're accepted, deferred, or rejected from your early action or early decision schools, and basically like what comes next. And I thought I'd post this like right now, since decisions are basically coming out like this week and next week and the following week, and I really hope not anytime after that, because that's just cruel to make students wait that long. But overall, I thought this was super important because I feel like nobody really tells you like what to do. Like, I honestly did not even know what deferred meant when I got deferred from Yale, and I was just like, well, first off, I was there, I was crying, I was sobbing. Like, I had my calculus exam the next day, and that's all I could think about. Like, oh my gosh, I got deferred from my dream school at the time. And I was just like freaking out, and I like looked all this stuff up, but nothing made sense. So here I am to give you guys all this information in a quick little video. Alrighty, so first off, let's start with accepted, just because there's less to say for this. First off, congratulations, that's absolutely amazing, especially if you were accepted into your dream school. Like, that's honestly like the best feeling that you can ever have. What I can say for you is right away, like, number one, get excited, celebrate safely, because there's a pandemic right now. So that could mean like going out to get ice cream or something, like safely, or just like whatever you can do, celebrating with your friends or your family, like even virtually, like just celebrate in some way because you worked hard, you earned that acceptance, and it's a dream come true basically. Try to join class group chats if you guys already have them, because they really start to like kind of sprout a little bit in early December. So like there's class of 2025 group chats for like almost every school that had an early action or early decision thing. And there's also Facebook groups and just other ways that you can socialize with other people that are going to be in your class. Take advantage of those, but I will say, number one, decide whether you're even gonna go, because even if you applied early decision, which is technically binding, if you did not get enough financial aid, number one, you can ask them to reconsider your aid just to like see if you can afford it. You can give them additional documents and like prove that you can't afford it and stuff. And number two, if that doesn't actually work and you don't want to go to that school and be in debt, like if you really can't afford it and they didn't really give you aid, you can actually find a way to get out of that early decision like binding process. I know that that's an actual thing because I know people that have done it. So if they don't give you enough aid, that's definitely something to consider. But also, if it is your dream school, there's really like those pros and cons that you do have to think about. Like, do I want to spend $80,000 a year to go to Brown or something just because it's my dream school, or do I kind of want to save that money and like go for this full ride at a state school? Like, there's a lot of things to really weigh in these situations, and so there's a lot for you to think about. But I will say, number one, celebrate and enjoy that acceptance. Number two, stress about everything that comes afterwards. And if you applied early action, this is actually super cool because you can technically still apply elsewhere in regular decision. Like, you're not binded to this school that you got into. However, if it's your dream school, like, that's still super exciting. Like, if you got into Harvard, Yale, I would say Princeton, but they actually aren't doing early action this year apparently. So like, yeah, that's definitely great. But I will say, if you are going to go to those schools, like if you already know, yeah, I'm going to Harvard, like I got in early, like don't really apply elsewhere, regular decision, just for fun if you know you're going to go to Harvard, because I kind of think that it's a little bit rude because you're technically taking away other people's spots. And I know that you are entitled to that because you definitely like worked hard and everything to get your stats and your extracurriculars and your essays on par. But like, even if you get accepted into those schools and you take away your spot like technically doesn't always have to get passed down to someone else, because some schools actually don't end up utilizing their wait lists, and some schools already set aside a number of kids that they know are going to reject. Like for Brown, I know they accepted like maybe 600 people more than the size of our class, because they know like people are going to reject their acceptance to Brown and go elsewhere. Like it's not like everybody who gets accepted is going to go, but like even if you do give up your spot, you're not really guaranteeing that it's going to be passed down to someone else. So try to avoid that if possible. And my stance is, if you are 100% certain that you're going to that school, don't apply elsewhere. Like if you want to apply elsewhere because you're not like 100% sure, like for example, if you get into Yale early action or something like that, but you wanted to go to Harvard maybe, then yeah, I get it. Like apply to there because technically you're not losing anything. You're not 100% set on Yale. However, if like your last 3 generations of your family have gone to Harvard or something like that and you got accepted and you know that you don't want to go anywhere else, like what's the point of applying to other schools just to take other spots? So yeah, that's basically what I do have to say for accepted people. There's really not much to tell you guys. Like you got accepted, that's amazing. You're probably not even watching this video if you did get accepted, but congratulations. Reach out to some current students at your school if you have any questions. And yeah, we're super excited to see you at your next school. Next, we have the dreaded deferral. And oh my God, deferrals are absolutely so stressful. But the number one thing that you have to remember throughout this process is it does not mean you were rejected. Lots and lots of deferred students still get in a regular decision. I know for a school like Yale, because I got deferred from there, they told me that the amount of kids who would get an RD is like equivalent to the acceptance rate. So I think like 6% of the kids who were deferred ended up getting an RD, who was not one of them. But I know other schools like Brown have a higher rate, like 15% some years of deferred students get in RD, which is higher than the actual RD rate of 5%. So it really varies depending on the school that you got deferred from. And there are some schools that don't defer a lot of students, and there are others that defer a lot. For example, Princeton and Harvard are known to kind of defer most of their applicant pool actually. So like if you get deferred there, it's kind of more of a long shot. However, Stanford and Cornell are not known to defer a lot of their students. So if you get deferred from one of those schools, for example, based on like the past and everything and what other students have gone through, you do have a higher chance of getting accepted than people who apply regularly. But yeah, keep in mind, just because you got deferred does not mean anything. Like it meant that they basically did not want to reject you. They looked at your application, they thought that you were qualified enough to get into the school, and they just wanted to compare you to other people in the RD round. So yeah, there's definitely still hope. And number one, the first thing I would recommend you to do is like kind of process it, because this takes you a while depending on who you are. For me, it took me about a week to process, and this included like crying, thinking about my future, rethinking my school list, because obviously I was gonna have to apply elsewhere now. Like previously I was like, okay, cool, I'm applying to like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, some safeties, some reaches, like nowhere else. But now I'm like, oh gosh, I need to have backups, I need to have more matches, stuff like that. So kind of cope with it, come to terms with it, and then also reevaluate your school list. Number 2, you can actually send a letter of continued interest, which I would recommend you to do, to the school that deferred you. And this can basically like update them on everything that you've been doing senior year since you submitted your application, and also just like to reiterate your like demonstrated interest in the school to show that you're still a great fit for the school and you'd still choose to go there. For my letter of continued interest to Yale, I basically like described all the competitions that I placed in my senior year within those few months, like between November to December when I got my decision. And I also reiterated that Yale was my first choice, and if they had accepted me, I would have gone there, stuff like that. But only say that if you will for sure go there, if they accept you in the end. And just kind of updating them on what you've been doing and why you still believe you're a great fit. But don't make this letter more than like 1.5 pages, because you do not want to overwhelm them with a lot of stuff to read. Additionally, I would recommend you to send this letter within a few weeks of opening your deferral letter. So for me, I found out I was deferred like December 16th, and I sent this letter like the second week of January. So that gives them some room so they can like also like see the RD applicants like starting to come in, but then they get my letter of continued interest and they can remember me. And I think a lot of people like take this letter of continued interest as like a super stressful thing, but it really doesn't have to be. You can update them on like new test scores. For example, if you didn't get an SAT or an ACT score, but then recently you were able to take the test, you can update them on that. You can update them on changes in your grade if your grade point average has gone up or something like that, or if you've done really great in a certain class that you had previously like had a lower grade in, that kind of stuff. And then you can also update them on just like general things like awards you've won, scholarships you're a finalist for, scholarships you've won, and like academic competitions, extracurriculars, all kinds of stuff. It's basically anything that you've done. However, I will say it's anything you've done, like mostly between the time where you submitted your application and then afterwards, because technically if it was anything else, you could have mentioned it in your application already. So try to avoid like talking about stuff from like freshman year or sophomore year, stuff like that where you totally could have mentioned that beforehand when you applied. So yeah, do not lose all hope if you were deferred, because technically it does give you the option to look at other schools and to like rethink your choices. Because honestly, like I've said in many videos, like looking back, I don't know why Yale was my first choice. I think it was just because of prestige or whatever it was at that summer program that made me fall in love with Yale. But like once my dad forced me to apply to Brown, like a month later, I finally started researching the school and everything. Yeah, I know. After I applied, I researched the school. And I found out that I was honestly really in love with it. And I found out that that would have actually been my first choice. And so when I got into Brown, like that honestly made my day. Like there's a reason I chose to like open that letter first. Like I was honestly like overjoyed, and I never would have even considered it if I had not been deferred. I would have automatically gone to Yale. And it's just these things that you need to consider. Like look at other options. Just because you're super set on one school does not mean that there aren't amazing other schools that are similar to it that you might fit amazingly at. Is amazingly a word? You might fit really well at, I guess. And lastly, we have the dreaded rejection. And I will say one of my favorite quotes associated with rejection is actually redirection. And that's something that I think is super relevant to this whole application process in general, because just because you were rejected from one school, early action, early decision, whatever it is, does not mean that every single school is going to reject you. That one school's opinion does not equate to every single school's opinions. Like I know a lot of people that have been rejected from schools that they considered safeties or matches early on in early action, early decision, but have gone into even better schools like in regular decision. I know someone who's actually literally rejected from the University of Michigan and then later on got accepted RD to Harvard. So one school's rejection does not determine every single school's opinion on you, and that's something you need to keep in mind, especially as you start to expand your options and apply elsewhere, because obviously since you got rejected from that one school, you do have to open up and reevaluate your school list and see if you can add more matches, some more safeties just in case. But keep in mind you want these matches and safeties to be schools that you like the fit of. Because honestly, I would rather be at a school that was more of a match or a safety that I really like the fit of, that I was happy at, rather than a reach school that I happen to get into that I absolutely hate the vibes of. So make sure to consider this, especially when you're looking at your current school list and looking to add more. Schools want a well-rounded class. So just because you are an amazing applicant does not mean that they rejected you as a person in any way at all. For example, if you're a pianist who happened to have a passion for microbiology and also loved history, sorry, I'm like drawing things for me, except I don't play piano, and there were a ton of other applicants that were just like you, in the end, it ended up being really competitive because they obviously can't have all these different niche people that are all exact same. So in this case, like this is where standing out is super important in the college applications process, because in the end, if you have a ton of people that are super similar, like it becomes really hard. You have to go based off of their essays, their personality, the vibes they give off, and whether they seem to be a good fit for the school, and then decide to choose who to admit. Because in the end, like I'm sure that these schools could fill their classes over and over again with qualified applicants, but they want a well-rounded class, and that means not everybody can be the exact same pianist who loves microbiology and history or something like that. Now, I've kind of been talking about rejection in this case as in you've been rejected from a reach school and something like that. However, if you were rejected from a safety or match school, it might actually be your application, and then you might have to reevaluate that, because a lot of the times if you do consider a school a safety, for example, like if your stats are all within their averages and everything like that, you might have to look at your essay in the end, because that might be the thing that's hurting you, and you might be able to fix that before the RT round. So try to get a second opinion, try to reevaluate whether that's what's making your application weak in general. In addition, some schools are actually rumored to reject students who are overqualified to increase their yield rate, and the yield rate is the number of accepted students who ultimately decide to enroll in that institution and accept their offer to go there and everything. So if you applied somewhere that you're totally overqualified for and they knew that you weren't really going to go, this is another possibility. There's honestly so many factors that go into this college admissions process, and you might drive yourself crazy trying to like look up why you were rejected and that kind of stuff. So in the end, I will tell you, try to breathe, try to like reconsider everything that you applied with, but also keep in mind that they're not rejecting you as a person. Instead, they're rejecting your application in the sea of applicants that they received. And you honestly can't control all of this in the end. The college admissions process is literally crazy. And if you look up online, like on Reddit and applying to colleges and all that kind of stuff online, you will see stories of people who've gotten rejected from schools that they thought they had a 100% chance of getting into and schools that they had banked on literally going to. The best thing that you can do is move forward from it, and also remember that you have so many other options for regular decision round, since most of you guys watching this are probably applying for the early rounds. So yeah, in conclusion, the college application process is absolutely crazy and stressful and literally horrible. But I do think it taught me a lot about myself, and I learned a lot like while writing these essays and determining what schools like I fit at best at and like applying to those schools and everything like that, and seeing what my results were. And if I could redo this process, I definitely would, and I would do it differently. But it's a learning experience. If you made a mistake in your early rounds, or you started like the night before and then you realized, oh my god, my essays suck, don't do that for regular. You learn from your mistakes, so use what you've learned in the early rounds if you did not get accepted, and try to change that so you do get accepted in the regular round for your other schools that you would be a great fit for. So yeah, that's pretty much the conclusion of this video. I am super sorry for everybody who did get rejected. However, I do believe, like I said earlier, rejection is redirection, and you're still going to get into an amazing school, and everything will work out in the end. So keep your hopes up. And for those who got deferred, the exact same thing. I honestly have to offer you the exact same advice. And I was in your position last year, and it was like the worst thing of my entire life. However, I got through it and everything worked out in the end. So I'm really confident it will for you too. For those of you guys who got accepted, I'm so happy for you, especially if you guys know that you're gonna go to that school and that's the school that you're hoping to get into. And if any of you guys got into Brown, please make sure to comment down below or DM me on Instagram or something like that. Like, I'd be happy to help you guys if you do have any questions about the school, because I'm really excited about Brown in general. I love sharing that knowledge, especially with future applicants if you guys have any questions for RD. But yeah, overall, that's the conclusion of this video. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel and everything. So yeah, make sure to subscribe and like I said before. And overall, that's pretty much it. See you guys next week.